Clowning around, clowning around. This is just us clowning around. Yeah! Hello and welcome to Clowning Around with me, Em Stroud, and I hope you're well and I hope that you have had a splendid week. And yes, dear listeners, I hope you have found some time to laugh, think and play because you know it does make you feel better. And I did promise you, good listeners of Clowning Around, that I had a cracking 2022. Gosh, it's not that easy to say, is it? 2022 lined up. And because I've got amazing people and I am so excited because today I have got a gem of a man for you who you are going to love. So without further ado, bar obviously some musical interlude from me, this week we are going to be clowning around. Woo! Quite liking that. We're going to be clowning around More Choice. That's right, More Choice with the fabulous Mo Choice. Hello, Mo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really well.
I was dancing to your musical interlude, by the way. I really was. No joke.
So was I. So I love the fact that we both just started off with that dancing, and that within it's amazing because on a previous episode, I was chatting to the fabulous Ruth and we were talking about conversations, and she was like, to have really good conversations you have to break the state, and one of the main ways of doing that is dancing. So 100%. Without knowing it, we have just done it. So how are you, lovely man? Are you well?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on. It's really exciting. Great start to this. My first official obligation of the year, so I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I feel very honoured that I am your first one and that I was in your diary. It's very exciting. So, Mo, as all my regular listeners will know, I like to start with some quick fire questions about the area that my guest is playing in. And obviously with you, it's about more choice, which I love. So are you ready?
Yes.
I love that. I love you. Like, yes, you said quick fire. I'm now giving you a quick fire answer. It's very exciting. So I want you to picture the scene. There you are. You've clicked on the Zoom call. Now everybody is joining. And behind you is a big light. And the big light is shining and people are waving in the chat box going, hello, hello, hello. And it's all very exciting because they're very excited to see from you. And they're there and you're ready. And there's smoke. I don't know why there's smoke in your house. Don't worry, no fire. And there's smoke. And there you are. Question number 1. What animal is more choice?
Oh, lion.
Okay, because?
I don't know. It's just first. So I'm a Leo. I love lions. Even in the personality, we used to do personality. We tried to simplify personality traits when we did sales training. And I would always have the 4 personalities as lion, koala, whale, and monkey. I can explain it to you another time if you want. And mine comes strong lion. So it's just I'm fascinated by lions and tigers, by the way.
I mean, I'm loving it. And this is something though. So dear listeners, Mo and I have met a few times that we don't know each other very well, but now I'm getting to learn that you are also a fellow Leo. Woohoo!
There you go.
There was definitely a reason. For obviously all of you listening that aren't Leos, don't worry. We are just the best stars. I'm just putting it out there. Obviously 2 Leos are going to agree that, and then they're going to walk away and then go, we're going to stroke our hair now. Anyway, back to the quick fire bit. What does more choice mean to you?
So there's this idea that more choice isn't better, right? So it's this idea that you don't want to be overwhelmed with choice. And I agree. But here's the way I look at it. If you know what you want, you then want more choice within that. Right. So I'll give you an example. So if you want to buy a pair of shoes and you've got no idea what type of shoes you want, running, going out, heels, flat, you're going to struggle with the choices that are available. You know, imagine walking down Oxford Street. You're going to know, I don't know where the hell to start. But if you know you need red stilettos, right, then you want as many choices as possible within that.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So it sounds contradictory, but you want more choice within a defined framework.
You're so right. And everybody that knows me and follows me will know that I'm a bit obsessed with trainers. So trainers are my real thing. But you've just clarified something for me. I've never thought about this way. Because I'm obsessed with trainers, but I do find the world of trainers slightly overwhelming. So I only buy trainers pretty much from DCs because they've got such a range and I love them and they make me cut. But oh my God, you're so good. It's like why you're on the podcast. Anyway, tangent. Right. Question number 3. Everyone's giving you loads of thumbs up on the Zoom call. The smoke is still going around you. You're like, why is there smoke in my house? Anyway, carry on. Why does more choice scare you if it does?
More choice. Why does it scare me? Oh, because I get distracted quite easily. So,
okay.
So again, another example. So if I'm starting a business, I'll then suddenly start seeing different business potentials popping up in my vision, let's say, and then I'll start getting distracted. So it does prevent you from focusing on one thing at a time. So again, this is why I say the framework's so important, right? Because if you know what you want, then you want to increase the choice within that realm. But if you don't know what you want and you're not sure, and so this is what I learned, Em. If I'm focusing on a business idea and suddenly I'm getting excited by others, then I shouldn't be focusing on that business idea.
Oh, that's so true. It's right? So true.
That's the sign. It's like if you're interested in a partner in a relationship, but then you're getting attracted by other people without really, then it's like, well, then that's probably not the person for you.
Oh, I so agree. God, there's so I mean, you're so right because it's like, and everybody that knows me, it's like, oh, it's a nice new shiny thing. Yes, but if I'm really into something, because people are like, but Em, you're constantly coming up with new ideas, but I will also make sure that things happen. That's why I've done over 100 episodes of this. I've got I've got a book. Yes. And it's because those are the things that really interest me, so I can be fully in them. God, you're good. Right, question number 4. When have you felt fully in command of more choice, if you ever have?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it comes back to the same things we've been talking about. So when I see, there's this idea that imagine you focused on one thing, because what you focus on grows, right? So if you focus on your limiting beliefs, that grows. If you focus on your fears, that grows, et cetera, et cetera. So it's metaphorical in many ways. But if I focus on the thing that I want to focus on, and that grows, right? That's where I feel most in control. Because it's like I'm putting my attention on something and it's evolving under my guidance, let's say, under my focus. That's where I feel most in control. And that requires focus, limiting distractions, knowing what you want, increasing your choice within that what you want framework. That I think it all ties in.
Yeah, completely. And the thing that just popped into my head as you were saying that was, this is really linking to Cal Newport, who I think I've mentioned before on the pod, and his book Deep Work. And it is that thing of going, this is what I want to be in, so be fully in it, because then it offers you so many different expanses and places to go and all of that good stuff.
It's it's this thing about if a stand-up comedian is brilliant at stand-up comedy, why would they then go and work on acting or singing, or you know what I mean? Let them focus on stand-up, focus on one thing and see what happens.
And allow it to grow, right?
And allow it to grow. Yeah, because why? It's like with these people that just roll off the street into a new craft, right? You get it with coaches a lot, right? Someone rolls off the street into this new craft and they expect to be the best. And they expect people to take them seriously. And it's like, but you haven't earned your stripes. You haven't loved and focused and nurtured this craft. Yeah. So why are you just going to rock up and be the best at it or be respected at it? It doesn't work that way.
No, it's so true. It's so true. Because I remember like when I got my first professional acting gig, I hadn't actually trained in the craft of acting. I had some talent and I'd done a university degree, but I hadn't studied the craft of acting. And then I was like, holy shit, because I lost my voice straight away. And then I went to drama school and I was like, I can do it in a year. I can do drama school in a year. No, you can't. It's a craft. So I ended up spending 3 years there. Yeah, I agree. Right, this is a quick fire bit. You're doing brilliantly. I'm going off on tangents. That's fine. This is what happens, kids, when there's 2 Leos together. What object is more choice?
Oh, circle.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know if that's an object, but it's a circle.
Well, we can make it. It could be an object because it's a piece of paper.
It's a sphere. It's a sphere.
A sphere. Yes, people, we got there. You know, it's a sphere. Yeah, and we're not gonna pull that apart. It's just gonna be deep.
Yes. Yes.
So when you fully own more choice, what happens for you in your body? So as you're living in a place where you've created sort of parameters and everything that we're talking about so that you have more choice in your life and your work, what goes on for you within your body?
This is it's presence, it's flow, it's alignment, it's integrity, it's the experience that you are who you're meant to be at the moment and nothing else matters.
Beautiful. Who makes you think of more choice?
Lots of people. I think it's more ideas. You know, we get this question a lot when we're doing our group supervisions and stuff like that, where someone would say, "Who's your biggest inspiration?" It's like people are so flawed that I don't think anyone can inspire me, but their ideas can, their actions can, their projects can inspire me. Right? It's the potential that inspires me, not the person. Let's say it's that whole never meet your heroes thing. You know?
Yeah, it is that never meet your heroes, and I also think there is such a sort of culture where we gurify people, you know, and actually it's sort of one of my, I guess, pet hates. It's like, here's me right now, and this is what I know so far. And if it's of use to you, brilliant. If it's not, carry on. And it's, and when I see people really gurifying people, I'm like, no, because if you're putting them up on a pedestal, what you're not doing is your own work. And if you're not doing your own work, then actually you're never going to shift and change in the way that you want to, or at the pace that you want to. Anyway, off my little soapbox there, and I've come back to here. Question number, whatever it is, what song is more choice?
I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty.
Oh, because I won't back down, because I'm something around. Isn't that one?
That's the one.
Don't worry, kids. It will be. I love that song. And
that's the one.
That will go. So there's a Clowning Around playlist on Spotify with all of the songs from all of my guests. It is the most eclectic playlist you can ever imagine. And I've not got any Tom Petty, so thank you for that. I love that song.
Amazing.
Even though I can't remember the words. If more choice was a country, what country would it be?
Oh. I don't respect any countries, so I don't know. I don't know if it is a country.
It's fine. We've had Never Neverland. We've had made up universes. It's all good.
It's a planet somewhere that hasn't been discovered yet, I reckon.
Oh, I like that. I like that. What, if anything, has stopped you from owning more choice?
Again, lack of clarity, lack of confidence, lack of commitment. See, there's an interesting one, and we talk about commitment, right? Did you know that in Dutch, they don't have a word for commitment? Because the words that they have that fit commitment are either too strong or too weak. So there's nothing quite in the middle. And if you look at the etymology of commitment, it's not really an old word. So it doesn't come from a sort of classical language. And this is my idea. You're only committed to your to living your best life. That's the only commitment you have. You're not committed to a husband or a family or a friend or a business. You're committed to living your best life. And if you know that you can't live your best life with your current commitments, you are then going to break those commitments. So you're only ever committed to your best life. I like this idea. Right. So I think where I lose that connection with more choice is where I'm committing to something that I don't really want.
Which goes back to that thing that you were saying earlier of, if you're in and you've set up a new business, but something else is exciting you.
Yes.
There's that thing. It's like, no, I'm not. I haven't chosen the right thing that's going to enable more choice.
Yes.
Love it. Exactly. What or who makes you laugh?
Oh, lots of people. Stand-up comedy for me, apart from this woke comedy, which I tried to experience, it's not comedy. So most comedy makes me laugh. Most comedians make me laugh.
Good.
Even like Laurel and Hardy. So I grew up on Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin. My dad was big fans of them, so I grew up watching that. But you know, Judge Judy makes me laugh. Gordon Ramsay makes me laugh. Simon Cowell makes me laugh. Gary Vaynerchuk makes me laugh. It's people who who show up as who they are and speak the truth. They make me laugh.
Yeah, because there's an openness about them. So when they say stuff, it's just like, if you don't like me, just jog on. And as a result, because they're willing to be laughed at,
yes,
there isn't anything that you can do that's worse, which is why all of those people that you've mentioned are successful, whether you like them or not. They have all hit a level of success, how you view success. What are you really thinking about right now?
Some of the funny comments from those people that I just started mentioning. And also there's this thing about, I meet a lot of people who I'll mention someone like Simon Cowell or Gary Vaynerchuk, and you'll see a reaction and, oh, I don't like them. And I'm like, my go-to response to that, Em, is, what do you think they think of you?
I love that. And the whole thing is, and this goes back to the gurifying thing, because I actually had on a previous episode of the pod, I had Claude Silver, who's Gary V's number 2, basically. And this is what's so fascinating, is because people, see him on social media. And if you don't know who Gary Vee is, if you're in the world of business and you haven't come across him, he was one of the first people to really get his kind of head round using like YouTube and video. And he's grown amazing, very big, very successful social media agency. And when I was chatting to her, because underneath he's got this kind of, I'm fast talking, I swear, I wear t-shirts, and he was kind of part of that early kind of, sort of tech bubble, I guess. And when I was chatting to her job within their business, within Vayner Business, whatever it's called, Vayner Media, is the chief heart officer.
Oh, I love that.
And what she is doing, which is why we were clowning around bravery, and what they are doing is that he fundamentally believes that if you really respect all of a person, and not just in that they're coming to work, they will work for you for longer and stay with you, etc., and all of these good things. And it's counter what lots of people would think of him because of how fast quacking and all of that stuff. So again, it's just that whole idea, isn't it, of
judging a book. It's judging a book by its cover. And most people who judge are the ones who hate being judged.
Yeah, and most of those ones as well are the ones, as Brené Brown, who hasn't been on the podcast, but I'm going to make it happen. I had Dr. Gay Hendricks on here, and I've had an Oprah soul teacher. I'm going to. But as Brené Brown said, she's like, if you're not in the arena, then I don't care.
Yes,
what you think of me. Exactly, and that's really landed with me. And then finally, of the quick fire bit, this is what happens, kids, with 2 Leos, and it's my podcast, so I can break the own rules anyway. How do you play?
I provoke.
Oh,
you want more?
I love that as an answer. It's like I've never put the word play and provoke, but now knowing you, actually I can see why that for you is deeply, deeply playful, because you must just be like, I'm going to ask this question, boom, and then watch what happens, right?
Play for me is disrupting the pattern.
Oh, lovely.
That's why we play, right? We want to disrupt the it's like what you said about the dancing right off the top.
Yeah,
want to break the pattern. So that for me is play, right? It's the same as sport. It's why I love sport. It's why I love watching kids mess around in the playground. It disrupts the status quo play. So I think it's provocative by nature.
Yeah, completely. I love that. Right. Well, that's the end of the quickfire quiz. We've done very well. Everybody on the Zoom calls giving you big thumbs up. The smoke has now disappeared. They've all logged off. They're going to go make themselves a cup of tea and go, God, I love Mo. He's brilliant. I need to find out more about him. And it's just you and me. So many questions. How did you end up kind of getting to a place where thinking about that phrase, more choice, became important to you?
I stopped lying to myself.
Good. When did that happen?
When I realized that the world I was living was a lie. And without getting too deep into it, there's this quote from John C. Maxwell. He says, you have 2 choices. You either pay now and play later, or you play now and pay later. But one thing's for sure, life will demand a payment. And here's how I understand it. And I'm going to talk from the I perspective, but I'm going to assume that this is a truth.
Yeah.
If you're telling yourself lies about who you are, how the world works, how you fit into the world, what you need to do, you can't get away with that. You won't get away with it. something is going to crumble. That structure that you've built based on lies is going to come down. And I don't mean lies, and it's this whole thing about white lies as well. White lies is the precursor to a black lie, right? So I'm talking generally about making things up to fit your, people say whatever they need to say to get their way, and to convince themselves that they're right, and to convince themselves that they know what they're talking about. That was me. That's how I know this. That's why I believe it's a truth. Right? And so what happens is you end up building this illusionary world, and expectations then happen, because you're expecting things to work out, and they don't, because you can't lie about what's going on. So and there's this quote from Anne Lamott, which is, expectations are resentments waiting to happen. And I love that, because it's this idea that if you're expecting something, it's entitlement in many ways, and you don't get it, that's where resentment starts breeding. And I started feeling resentful at the world, at everybody, at all this stuff. And it was only when I, let's say, focused the attention on myself rather than on who am I blaming for this, right? That I started realizing that it was my problem, because I built up a house of cards. So then I literally destroyed the house of cards. I pulled the card out from the bottom. I let it collapse. I lost everything that I built. I lost it. Some purposefully, some intentionally, some unintentionally, as a direct consequence. But it says, I watched Fight Club, right? This is 2014. I watched Fight Club again. And there's a line in there that says, only when you lose everything are you free to do anything.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I decided I need a blank canvas. I need to redesign my life. So I let go of everything, literally blank canvas, Em. Literally every penny, every business, every relationship gone.
Yep. Yeah.
And I said, I'm now going to choose the relationships. I'm going to choose what I do. And that's where I came up with this idea about, how do I increase the choices available to me? Because imagine you could do whatever you wanted, right? Imagine you woke up tomorrow, no child, no relationship, no house, no mortgage, no debt, no job.
Yeah.
Literally free to do what you want. Imagine how much choice.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Can I swear, by the way?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. What the fuck am I going to do now? There's so many. I want to do everything now, right? It's Peter Pan. I want to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't want to do everything, because I can't do everything. So I'm going to have to choose. So then this is where I started toying. It took me about 18 months to figure this out. 18 months of proper trying to figure it out, by the way. Not 18 months of living my life and then I figured it out. It was trying to figure this out. And it was this idea that only when I know what I really want experientially can I start focusing on. So it's the balance between evidence and experience, right? When you know what you want to experience, you then start looking for the evidence of what's going to get you that experience. And within that evidence, you want more choice.
Yeah.
And when that became clear, that was end of 2016, I think, or end of 2015, middle of 2016, I would say.
Okay.
That came to me and I went, okay, that's my new alter ego, Mo Choice. And that's where I developed the brand Mo Choice. And I started working on how's this person going to emerge? And it was only in lockdown that he emerged.
Yeah, which is really interesting, because I think for a lot of people that have been shifting themselves, I think lockdown sort of put a bit of a speed dial on it for a lot of people, even though it was a slowdown. It was because there was more space, wasn't there? There was more time, there was more everything, because all of the distractions, to go back to that, weren't there, because you couldn't kind of go and distract yourself by going to the pub or doing whatever.
That's exactly it. It was the fact that it was like the universe was telling me, you need to now focus on this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And for me, I'm hospitality background. So for me, the distractions were in hospitality. Well, the minute lockdown happened, what happened to hospitality? Bang, all the opportunities left.
Yeah.
And that was the shocker for me, because I was like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Imagine there's no hospitality for the next 5 years. What the hell am I going to do? I only know venues. I only know how to run things where lots of people in tight spaces. That's the only thing I know. Right?
Yeah.
So then it became, well, let me do it on Zoom. Well, what the hell am I going to do on Zoom? Serve coffee and gin and tonics? No. So then I started focusing I refocused on Mo Choice, let's say, and that's where this idea emerged. And so essentially, what I do is I work with people to create the framework for increased choice.
I mean,
That's
what a delicious thing to say that you're doing in your life is that you are creating with people and businesses, I'm assuming, because people are within businesses, how to develop more choice.
Yes.
When you say that, right? Because I'm sure there's loads of people listening going, that sounds great, but that's definitely not for me because I, on whatever limiting belief that anybody's listening to this goes, yeah, I can't do that though, because I've got a dog and I've got 4 kids and I've got a job at I can't have more choice.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, it's I suppose too general. The devil's in the detail, as they say. But here's the thing, right? Like, so a close friend of mine has a kid, and the relationship isn't going well with the woman, and he's like, I've got no choice. I have to stay where I am because I need to be next to my kid. And I said, well, no, you do have a choice. You could leave, and you can disconnect from your child. And he goes, no, I don't want to do that. I said, well, that's a choice.
Yeah.
You said you didn't have a choice. So this thing about I've got a dog, well, you can give the dog away.
Yeah.
I'm in a marriage where you can leave the marriage. I've built my own business where you can close your business down.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is, what are you prepared to sacrifice?
Yeah.
Here's a good way of thinking about it, Em. What you're prepared to sacrifice shows what you really value.
Doesn't it?
Right.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
And here's another really important thing that I've noticed, that I've observed. And this is, by the way, after working with thousands of people. I'm not talking about.
Yeah. By the way, guys. Yeah, he's been doing this for. He really does know his shit. Yeah, it's not I've done it with one person. He said it was fine. I've come up with this whole new thing.
I read a book. I read a Deepak Chopra book. And I'm going to tell you
and then voila.
No. This is I've hired over 1,000 people directly to work for me, and I've also worked with over 1,000 people who are business owners and creatives. And this is what I've observed. People don't want success as much as they want to avoid failure.
Hell yeah.
Right? So it's not about the pleasure, it's about avoiding the pain. It's not about the desire, it's about avoid. So we move away from rather than towards. Right? I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't want stress.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want So if people are avoiding what they don't want rather than working towards what they want, then they're quite happy to put up with the things that are familiar to them. So watch. So if I hate or resent someone, I don't want to let go of that resentment and hate, because if I do, I'm left with my painful limitations, my suffering. So instead of blaming anyone else or projecting that out, I'm left on my own.
And also, when you do that, what that can do is it then creates space within yourself. And I think when you create space within yourself, that can be terrifying if it's the first time you've ever done it, right?
It's chaos. It's total chaos, right? And so no wonder no one wants to do it. Well, it's better to complain that I've got the dog and I've got responsibilities and my children and I've got to get a job because I've got the mortgage and this is how life works and fuck capitalism and it's all the government's fault. And it's better to live that way because you know it. It's familiar.
It's Margot, and you was going to love you because you're like really clever. But the thing is, it's really interesting listening to you more because I'm telling you what, you see, because I've got loads of choice, because now you're going to be really impressed with me, because what I did was I was like, right, okay, what do I really like? And so what I really like, and I don't know whether you like it, Mo, is I like knitting. So what I've managed to do is I've created my whole life all around knitting. So I feel like I've got loads of choice because I get to do lots of different knitting. And recently I've created knitting circles online with Barbara and Edna. I know, right? And so what I do, because my husband Brian, so me and Brian, we run the Cafe Brian's, which is on the bridge where we sell bacon butters and now avocado on toast, because people are vegetarians and vegans. It's all bloody ridiculous if you ask me. But I was like, you know what? I don't really like this, doing this all the time, because there I was having to like work really hard, but I wanted to do knitting. So I've chosen to go and do knitting. And now I've been doing it online. I have loads more choice because I've made loads more money and I've made loads of guests for I've made like loads and loads of onesies. Would you like a onesie, Mo? Would you? I can make you a lion one if you like. I think you would. I think you would, because I can tell that, because whenever I hear silence, I'm always like, it's because they're like blown away by how good that would be. Because more as a lion in a knitted onesie, you were imagining the scene about how beautiful you would look, and I know you would, because you're all about choice, and so obviously you're going to choose to look very handsome and lovely. Not that I'd say that, because obviously I've got Brian and I love him because my husband, even though he's really annoying, but he's not as annoying as Candice, because Candice is my best friend. Well, she's not anymore because I don't really like her anymore. But Edna's actually my best mate. Oh, Edna, if you're listening, you're my best mate, not Candice. Oh God, I'm getting myself into trouble because I've got so many choices, so many friends. Oh, I love you. I'm sure Em will want to be really profound. Bye-bye. Well, I think you've got a onesie coming, whether you wanted it or not.
I love onesies. Go on, I'm in.
You're in. You've got a lion onesie that's going to be knitted in wool. I mean, who wouldn't love that? Who wouldn't love that? You know, so I'm really curious, right? You know, so you've gone on this, you know, this, I don't want to use the word journey, but I'm going to. You've gone on this journey, this shift, this change. And as you stand here in 2022, you know, what are you most excited about, having created this world within for yourself of more choice, but then also all the people you work with? What really excites you about it?
Just the potential to connect with people, right? Because this is the other thing. Like we are fast. So I think it's an Elvis quote. I'm not sure, but it's this idea that everyone's got their own version of the world, like fingerprints. So no two versions are the same.
Nice.
Well, if you believe that, that means everyone's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're not, Em. People are boring. It's like, no, you're fucking boring. You're not paying attention. You're not listening. Right? You're not listening. You're not interested. And if you're not interested, and if you're not interested, Em, if you're not interested in me, I'm not going to show you my world.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I have this deep rooted belief that everybody is interesting, and just sometimes it takes quite a long time for that person to remember what makes them interesting. But if you are patient and you ask enough questions, you will find a commonality, or even if not a commonality, you will find the spark that gets somebody where you see their face light up. Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking for the contrast as well as the commonality. It's the two.
Yeah, because it's that double side, isn't it? And it's that thing of like, and when you suddenly see somebody and they come alive and you see it in their physiology, of course they're bloody interesting, you know? And it's amazing. And it always kind of makes me quite sad when, you know, as you know, I work with lots of people, helping them tell their stories and all of that good stuff. And quite often people will say to me, but my story, you know, I'm not very interesting.
Yes.
And I'm like, huh? Just tell me about, you know, your last few weeks of your life. And they'll tell me this, you know, extraordinary bit of living and moments and interactions and engagements. And I'm like, there's your story. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, because every story has weight, right? And yet we're so quick to dismiss it. And I think this comes back to this whole idea about choice. And I love that whole idea about what are you willing to sacrifice? It's that thing of how can we enable ourselves to be braver to actually explore what more choice looks like, right?
Yeah. What's the alternative? What's the alternative? Like, if you don't like what you've got, you're not going to like more of it.
Yeah.
Right. So you know what you've got now. That's the thing. Like, you know what you've got. So then it becomes, well, I'm going to have more. So you know what your life's like. If nothing changes, well, everything changes, but you know what I mean. If you're in the same state of mind, let's say, you're going to just get more of what you don't like. Yeah. And it's this idea, okay, do you want to put up with it? Fine. Then your work becomes acceptance. So what you want is you want more choice in how to accept yourself in your life. Yeah. That's where you want the more choice. But if you want to change your life and you know how you want to change it or what do you want it to look like, the kids call it living your best life, right? What is living your best life? Most people can't answer that question. Yeah. I don't want to feel stressed. I want more money. What are you going to do with the more money? Buy things. Why do you want to buy things? Because that's what somebody else tells me is success. And it's so interesting because I was chatting to the fabulous Mel Miles on a previous episode, and we were all clowning around soulcation. And she basically, her whole sort of movement is we need to create a world and a life that we don't need a holiday from.
And obviously she's American, so she said soulcation rather than soliday, because it works a lot better as well. It's like soliday just sounds not very good, whereas soulcation, brilliant. And
soliday, maybe.
Holiday. I'm gonna email Mel and go, maybe you could come up with this as your catchphrase, holiday. But I just think I loved, because that to me, and all of the work that she's doing, that to me really was that whole idea about, being conscious about the choices that you're making.
Yes.
And it's just, for me, one of the things that I've probably said in previous episodes of the pod, it's like, as long as you slow down and you get off your treadmills of your life that you have created, then you can look at your treadmills and you can go, do I like them? Are they still running at the right pace? Are they the right colors? And if they are, carry on, jump back on them and carry on doing what you're doing. But I think there's so many of us that kind of go, oh, but this is just what life is.
Well,
and then I'm like,
you're focused on the fish tank. So you're in a fish tank and you're trying to make the best, but there's an ocean out there. Why are you limiting yourself to the fish tank?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh no, someone put me in here. That's I've got a dog, I've got kids, I've got a mortgage. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no one. You weren't born with the dog and the kid and the mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you break free? That's the Fight Club thing I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's not when you lose all that you're free to do what you want. I'm not suggesting you lose all that, but that's a choice.
Yeah. And I think it's, and within those choices, it's then you can still be brave to do things in different ways. So you've still got those choices, and then you can find a way so that you can
want to be brave, Emma. I don't want to face my fears, Emma. Why should I face my fears? Why? Fears should go away. Leave me alone, fears. Why do I need to be brave? Fear needs to fuck off.
Yeah. Because no one else is going to do it for you, kids.
Yeah. And fear is not going to fuck off. The fear lives inside you. You can't get away from it.
No. And that's the interesting thing, because for me, so many of the things that you're saying it's about the duality. And like on the other side of fear is excitement.
Yes. Well,
and it just depends, right?
This is yin yang, right? The oldest story known to man, right? Represented by the dark and light, right? The problem with the dark is that it's our greatest fear, the unknown. But it's also where our greatest potential sits, right? So if you think about it, imagine the early cavemen were like, oh, I don't want to go out there. I'm just going to stay in my cave.
It's nice in this cave. I like it.
We'd still be in caves now. It's only because those fuckers said, let's leave the cave and explore. Cave is the comfort zone, right? Yeah. It's only when they said, let's fuck off. And how many of them got chewed up by saber-toothed tigers and ripped apart by God knows what mammals there were, right? For the other cavemen to learn and go, holy shit, we need to watch out for them.
Yeah.
Right? And then we've evolved. So your job in many ways is to figure out how to make the world better for the next group.
Yeah.
That's contribution. That's purpose. So I got this line, Em. I say, and I'm sure you have friends like this. I certainly do. You're either a consumer or a contributor. Right? You know, the friends that consume, it's just Netflix, weed, booze, shopping, Amazon. It's just buying, news, right?
Yep.
You're a consumer.
Yeah.
Or are you contributing? Are you trying to figure out better ways? Are you connecting with people? Are you learning? Are you sharing? Right? Are you building? Are you challenging?
And that's one of the things for me. It's so important, because if you are contributing, it doesn't necessarily mean, if you're listening to this going, yeah, but I'm not a writer, I don't want to do podcasts. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be big and grandiose. It could be that I'm looking at a garden. So it could be like, actually, I'm going to spend 4 hours every day growing stuff. That's contribution. It's that thing of not just listening to other people's stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I like a good Netflix. I like a glass of wine. Not gonna lie, we're not gonna suddenly be like really pious here of like, no, balance. I only ever make balance.
That's balance. Yeah. That's the balance between, you have to consume to contribute more.
Exactly. And I think it's one of those really interesting things, the world with which we live in now in terms of social media and success and, got to have loads of numbers, got to have loads of followers. And it's like, do you need to be Sainsbury's so you can try and have like 1.2 million followers, or do you want to have 600? Go.
I've got a theory on that. So it's is it worth it? Right. So is it worth me giving up what I've got now, which is comfortable? It's 5 or 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right. It's not bad. right? It's safe. 6, 7 is safe, let's say 6, 7 out of 10. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite 8, 9, 10, but at least I'm not 4. George Carlin has this line about the upper class, the middle class do all the work, right? And pay all the taxes. The upper class make all the money and pay no taxes, or the upper echelons, let's say. I don't know about class. And the lower class are there to scare the shit out of the middle class so that they keep doing the work.
Wow, yeah, I've never heard that before.
It's a great way to look at it, right? So if you're safe at 6 or 7 out of 10, is it worth changing for a small supermarket, or is it only worth changing for a Sainsbury's or to become the next Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever it is, right? So that's where I think people but it's this thing about it has to be this way, otherwise it's not worth the effort. So it becomes very dichotomous, very black and white. So I'll give you an example. So my mate smokes 20 cigarettes a day. For 20 years, he's been saying he wants to quit, right?
Right.
20 cigarettes a day. And it's either no cigarettes or 20. I'm like, why? Why not 19? Why not 18 for a year? If you did one less every year, you would have quit by now.
Yeah.
If you did 19, then 18, but we don't like to do that. And this is the whole idea about how we learn. Well, how did you learn how to swim if you know how to swim? Right? You got chucked in the water and you had to figure out how to swim, and you made lots of mistakes and you nearly drowned. If you survived the drowning and you did all the mistakes that you were supposed to, you now know how to swim. Well, it's the same fucking thing in life. That's how you learn. So there's this idea about, and this is, I think, what you're talking about with the social. It's like, no, it has to be perfect. As if Gary Vaynerchuk, let's take him, as if he's just popped up one day and become a social media guru.
Yeah.
How much work he had to do, how many videos flopped, you know? It's the same as any sports star or any musician. It's like, no, they didn't, you know, and then you've got the X Factor generation, right? Which is, I've just turned up on X Factor and now I'm a superstar. Most of them failed.
Yeah.
In life, it's like the lottery winners. If you go and read up on the lottery winners, you know, most of them are divorced. They've lost all their money. They're drug addicts and alcohol addicts now on the back of winning the lottery, because it wasn't built organically.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, you know, that idea of building, again, it comes back to that thing of doing, I quite often use the phrase, you know, asking yourself the question about what makes your heart sing. You know, and when you ask yourself what really makes your heart sing, suddenly from that bit, even if it's to start off with, you can only do it for 10 minutes a day, the opposite happens to your friend. Like if he had taken one fag less a year, he would have quit. If you do 10 minutes a day of what makes your heart sing, suddenly you'll find you want to do 20 minutes, then you want to do 30 minutes. And before you know it, you will find a way. And I remember with Gay Hendricks, he was saying to me, you know, he's like, this change for him when he went from being a college professor to being an author, he's like, it didn't happen overnight, because he realized he wanted to share his learning more than he could just teaching other people how to be a therapist and be happier and all of that stuff. So it took 5 years. He said, I had to move from that place where I wanted to be writing my books, but I still had to show up at meetings with things that were quite boring. So that transition, it doesn't happen overnight. So to develop, like you said, within yourself, you know, it took you 3-4 years to come to this place where you're at now, when you're talking about my choice and you're talking about it all. It does take time, because that's the craft. That's why it's so genuine. It's a slow roast.
It's not a microwave McCain chips or whatever the hell. Do they still do that?
I don't know. And if they do, what are they? No one knows.
They're not potato, that's for sure. Look, this is the question I get most asked, right? Okay. How do I find out what I want? Right? And I think I've got the answer, right? It comes, I'll give you the headline: express the shit out of yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So hear me out. So expression uncovers truth. How? Expression uncovers the untruth first. So if you say things that aren't true, you know they're not true. Your body tells you they're not true. And what happens is you reject that, but you only reject it when you express it out of yourself. You have to express it out of yourself, otherwise it lives inside you. And the untruth clouds the truth. And it doesn't matter how much untruth, by the way. It's this idea of gas. right? It doesn't matter how much gas you put in the room, it's going to spread evenly across the room. It's the same with untruth. You don't store untruth in one part of your brain and the rest of it is truth. It doesn't work that way. Right? So I think the way to find out what you want is to talk about the things that occupy your mind the most. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, right? Talk about the things that occupy, and you will get rid of the untruth, the shit. That's the express the shit out of yourself. You'll get rid of all the stuff that isn't true, which is 95%, by the way, of what you think, I reckon. It's just not true. So you're going to get rid of all that, and you're going to be left with the truth. And that's where you're vulnerable, because you've burnt off all the dead skin that's been clogging you, right? And you're left with your vulnerable true self. And that's fucking scary. Again, no wonder people don't want to do it. But that's where you discover who you are. So I don't mind. So this is the choice for me. It's like either go in fully to discovering who you are, or just accept where you are now and just make the best of it. There's no problem. But don't complain. That's the Gary Vaynerchuk thing. Stop complaining then.
Yeah.
If once you've made your choice, you've given up the right to complain.
I love that. And I'm going to express the shit out of yourself and literally run with that. Mo, as I knew, I could talk to you about this for hours, but I'm aware of your time and, of course, my good listeners' time. How can people find you and your world and your work? How can they find you?
Linktree is the best. So linktr.ee and then /Mo Choice. Or you can just type in Mo Choice. There's no other Mo Choice, so you can type it into Google, and I'm on TikTok and LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter, and
up you will appear. Up you will appear. Mo, it has, as I knew it would be, been an absolute joy. Thank you for coming on Clowning Around with me, Em Stroud. Thank you, lovely man.
Thanks, Em. Take care. Huh? Speak to you soon.
I love him. I mean, he is just this unbelievable force of good. Just talking to him, and obviously, I've chatted to him pre-recording the pod and the interview and stuff. And I mean, honestly, I had to stop our chat pre-record, because otherwise that would have been 2 hours of us just talking. And I'd been like, oh no, I was meant to do the podcast. But so many things. I mean, it was almost like I wanted to do mic drop on quite a few of the things that he said. And I get it, I really get it, that the idea that we can have more choice sometimes within itself is actually even overwhelming. And I really get it that, that we sometimes get ourselves caught in that this is our life and I can't do anything about it. And talking to him, it's like, no, you can, and I really, really, really hope that you listen to that. And you just went, my word, I can take a breath and I can think about how I want my life to be, and I'm allowed, and there's a spaciousness and a choice for me that perhaps is different. And I know for me, just sort of talking to him there, I think I mentioned at the end of last pod, I decided this year, inspired by the amazing Patty Hall, previous guest on my podcast, listen to her. And if you're writing a book, work with her. She's amazing. But she was like, what's your word for the year? And mine was brave. And talking to him has made me, as I record this, I'm just recording this just after finishing talking to him, I feel emboldened to be really brave now. And it is so true. It's like choices, what I have now, and don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful. This doesn't, for what I have created within myself and my life, but my word, I want to be brave, and actually I can have more choice, and there are things that can open up for me. And I really hope that he's made you think and he's made you smile, because he's certainly done that with me. Gosh, well, I said I've got cool people. Wasn't lying, was I? I mean, he's brilliant. So yeah, there we are. Another episode of Clowning Around, the podcast to make you laugh and think with me, Em Stroud, just in case you haven't worked out who I am by now. Do please subscribe, share it, rate, review it, and all of that good stuff. That would be amazing. And I just want to say, if you're a new listener, because I know there's quite a lot of you, hello, thanks for joining us. There's like loads of really cool stuff. Obviously, when I say us, it's me and Barbara, right? And of course yourself. So welcome. Barbara is very pleased that you're here. So yeah, I hope that you have a really good week. I hope that you find some time to laugh, think, and play, because it makes you feel better. And let me know what you think about Mo. Let me know what you think about more choice. DM me, get in touch. Got all the details. Thank you ever so much for listening to the pod, and we'll catch up next week. Take good care. Bye.